Welcome to Let's Talk Criterion, your regular magazine of the movies. In this edition, we'll take a look at the 1987 film directed by John Huston, The Dead, coming to the collection on 4K UHD. John Huston was a superb director, the son of the actor Walter Huston. He studied as a fine art painter in Paris. His directorial debut came with The Maltese Falcon in 1941, and that was the start of a very long list of acclaimed films which he directed, just some of which, of course, are The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, Key Largo, The Asphalt Jungle, The African Queen, The Misfits, and then, of course, later in his career, he had the joy of directing his own daughter in Prizzi's Honour and in his final film, The Dead, from 1987. Now, he, of course, acted in numerous films as well, including Chinatown, and he was the voice for the wizard Gandalf in The Hobbit from 1977 and The Return of the King from 1980. The Dead is a 1987 period drama film written by his son Tony Huston and starring his daughter Angelica Huston, as well as Donald McCann, Helena Carroll and Kathleen Denny. The screenplay is adapted from the original story by James Joyce, with some alterations made to the dialogue to aid the narrative for cinema audiences. The most significant change is the inclusion of a new character, Mr. Grace, who recites the English translation of the 8th century Middle Irish poem Donologue. Now that part's played by Sean McClory. The film's set in Dublin in 1904 at an epiphany party hosted by two sisters, Kate and Julia Morkan, and their niece Mary Jane. It focuses on the academic Gabriel Conroy and his discovery of his wife Greta's memories of a deceased lover, Michael Fury. Huston's visual translation is faithful to the superficial events of the novella, but not precisely the longing spirit, which seems an uncharacteristic mistake. The bruised voiceover coda that Gabriel, that's Donald McCann, recites in The Dead, embarrassingly illustrates with slow pans, of course, across icy branches and misreads Joyce's brooding core of self-doubt, as though it were the pratified paradoxes of Robert Frost. Now, the gaping disparity of effect here between Huston's debut feature and his valedictory effort here gives a sketchy, sweeping sense of how his instincts with actors shifted over the years, but it also indicates how frustratingly literal a director he became. What redeems Huston's last gasp here is the observational framing and agile editing with which the Morkan sisters' soiree is captured. As they usher their guests, mostly 2 by 2, up the stairs and into their cogsily middle-class Victorian parlour, the camera follows at a distance and hesitates at intervals, almost like a child peeking around corners to watch these funny adults without making its unwelcome presence known. Most of the film's performances are sufficient, if not possessed, with the resolute Irish fire that burns through Joyce's short stories so ebulliently. But Huston's skill at trafficking his actors and maintaining the blustering presence of a group in the background, even when investigating private conversations, smartly presents the cast as a unified ensemble. If only the undercurrents of spiritual and identity confusion lapped at the banks of a small talk as affectingly as in the book, the prolonged dinner sequence with its dances, cocktails, inebriated arguments and thick, wet wishbones may have alone made The Dead a Huston jewel, but as it is, it's more of a curio. Essential for completists and strangely alluring to casual fans, but all too noticeably handicapped. Now, Angelica Huston shares her last journey of movie-making with her esteemed father, taking a back seat in the dinner party with her composed demeanour until Greta's concealed memory is unexpectedly prompted by the Lass of Aughrim, sung by the tenor Bartol D'Arcy. When the party is winding down, and in her quietly poignant confession of a deceased young man who she fell in love with, the film reaches its well-earned catharsis through Donald McCann's reflective voiceover about certain existential epiphany, enhanced by the picturesque montage from DP, Fred Murphy, and Alex North's conspicuously pensive accompanying score. The film follows the story with almost complete fidelity. A few details are transposed. Gabriel's story about his grandfather's horse is moved forward in the story and given to Freddie Malins, that's Donnelly, who arrives drunk, but as Gabriel reassures Mrs. Malins, nearly all right. Line for line and scene for scene, the movie faithfully reflects the book, even to such details as two young men slipping into the next room for a drink during a piano recital, and then returning at its close to applaud loudly. Now, the turning point comes in the film as everyone is leaving. Gabriel has already descended the stairs when the famous tenor Bartell D'Arcy is finally prevailed upon to sing. And Gabriel looks up and sees a figure paused listening on the stairwell, and eventually he realizes it's his wife. There was grace and mystery in her attitude, as if she were a symbol of something, and he thinks if he were a painter, he would paint her in that attitude. John Huston is a painter of celluloid, and he does this. The song is the same one Michael Fury used to sing, and he awakes Greta's whole sad train of memory. Now, according to the critic for the New York Times, Pauline Kael, Huston directed the movie at aged 80, from a wheelchair in fact, jumping up to look through the camera with oxygen tubes trailing from his nose to a portable generator most of the time, and he had to watch the actors on a video monitor outside the set, and he had to use a microphone to speak to the crew. Yet, he went into dramatic areas that he'd never gone into before, and his funny, warm family scenes that might be thought completely out of his range. Now, Huston never before blended his actors so intuitively and so musically. Now, John Huston takes his exit through this film, and in honouring his forefathers, of course, and passing on his wisdom to his devout audience. The film's brimming with loftiness, sincerity, and an utterly captivating sensibility throughout. And we wished that the party would never end, because, of course, goodbye was the hardest word to say to such a beloved master. Now, The Dead comes to the Criterion Collection as a 4K Blu-ray combo with the following special features. We have a new 4K digital restoration, and that's supervised and approved by the director of photography for the film, Fred Murphy, with a 4.0 surround DTS HD master audio soundtrack. The discs come with one 4K UHD disc of the film, and that's presented in Dolby Vision HDR, and we've one Blu-ray with the film, and of course these other special features. New interview with author Colin McCann on the James Joyce short story and its adaptation for the film. New 2K restoration of John Huston and the Doublers from 1987, a behind-the-scenes documentary by Lillian Sivernich. Audio excerpts from actor Angelique Huston's 2014 memoir, Watch Me, and an essay by author and film critic Michael Koreski, and a 1987 piece by screenwriter Tony Huston about the making of the film. Cover is designed by Leanne Shapton. A glow with a mix of nostalgia and melancholy, and featuring a cast of stellar Irish actors, The Dead, as John Huston's last film, gracefully evokes the passage of time and the haunting power of memory. It's a running time of 83 minutes, and it's an aspect ratio of 185:1, and it releases on Tuesday the 20th of January in the US, and on Monday the 26th of January in the UK, on 4K UHD. Next time on Let's Talk Criterion, we'll be having some fun with the film House Party, starring Kid and Play, finally coming to the collection on 4K UHD. So until then, from me, it's goodbye, and above all, good Criterion viewing.